If you're hearing this, I need you to believe me. I don't have much time left, and I'm not telling this for sympathy or clicks. I'm telling you because maybe if someone else knows, maybe if someone listens, it won't end the same way for you as it's about to end for me. I keep hearing them outside my apartment. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, as if they're pacing, waiting for me to slip, to lose my nerve. It's past 2 in the morning. The streets are dead quiet, but there's this rhythm. 3 steps, a pause, then 3 more, always just far enough away that when I whirl around, there's nothing there. My phone buzzes again. Another notification. Discord. Even though I deleted the app days ago, the screen lights up with messages from a server I should never have joined. The names don't make sense anymore, symbols and words that look like code or prayers. I didn't understand them when I first saw them, and now I wish I'd never tried to. I can't stop shaking. The first time they messaged me, I thought it was some stupid online cult, one of those edgy, invite-only groups that thrives on mystery. I laughed about it. I even showed my friend. We joked about how creepy it was. But there's nothing funny about what's happening now. The messages aren't random anymore. They know where I am. They know what I'm doing. A minute ago, I got a DM that just said, "Stop recording." I didn't tell them I was recording. No one knows I'm recording. And the worst part? I did this to myself. I clicked on something I shouldn't have. Something I thought was harmless. That one link, that one server opened the door. People think they're safe behind their screens, that nothing on Discord is worse than some trolls or bad memes. But I've seen what's hiding under the surface. I've seen the things you can't unsee. Every instinct in me is screaming to stop talking, to smash my phone, to just run and never look back. But it doesn't matter anymore. I think they've already found me. There it is again. Footsteps, closer this time. My heart's pounding so hard I can barely hear myself think. If you're smart, you'll forget you ever heard this. Don't look for the server. Don't even try to find it. Because if you do, you'll end up like me. And now, God, now I think they've finally come inside. Before all of this, before the footsteps, before the cryptic messages that won't stop no matter how many times I reset my phone, my life was painfully normal, boring even. I'd wake up late, drag myself through work or classes, then kill entire evenings in front of my computer screen. The blue glow of Discord and Steam becoming the only light in my room. I guess that's the part that stings the most. How ordinary it all was. How ordinary I was. I wasn't looking for trouble. I wasn't one of those people chasing mysteries or conspiracy theories. I just wanted something to pass the time. Something to distract me from the endless cycle of working, scrolling, sleeping, repeat. Late night gaming became my routine. I'd sit in random Discord servers, half listening to people argue about games I didn't even play, spamming memes, and lurking more than I talked. The internet's good at making you feel like you're a part of something even when you're really just drifting. One night, I was in a call with a friend I'll call Dylan. He's one of those people who always seems to know the darker corners of the web. The kind of guy who laughs at creepypastas and claims he's seen worse. He was scrolling through servers and suddenly said, "Hey, you ever heard of a place called Ashgrove?" I hadn't. He told me it was invite only. No public listings, no open invites. You can't just stumble across it, he said. You gotta be pulled in. According to him, Ashgrove was different. Raw, unfiltered, with content you'll never find anywhere else. I rolled my eyes. I figured it was just another edgy RP server or some cringy attempt at being mysterious. But the way Dylan spoke about it, it got under my skin. He wasn't laughing like he usually did. His voice dropped when he said the word different, like he was both impressed and unsettled by whatever he'd seen there. Naturally, I joked about it. What, like some cult or something? They sacrifice memes to Satan? He chuckled, but it was nervous, like he wasn't sure if I was entirely wrong. That was the moment I should have dropped it. But boredom does strange things to you at 2 in the morning. The more I thought about it, the more curious I became. What was so special about this one server? What made Dylan hesitate? "Send me the invite," I said. He paused for a long time. I could hear his mic picking up faint breathing. Then, finally, "I'll send it, but don't say I didn't warn you." And there it was, a simple link in the chat. Harmless looking, blue text, underlined, like every other invite I'd ever clicked. But I swear, even before I pressed it, my gut twisted. Some part of me knew that this wasn't just another hangout, that once I clicked, there was no undoing it. I wish I'd listened to that feeling. Back then, though, it felt like nothing. Just another impulse, another mindless decision in the haze of online boredom. I hovered over the link, laughed at myself for hesitating, then clicked. It was instant. My screen flickered, and suddenly, I was inside Ashgrove. And that was the beginning of everything. The moment the invite went through, my screen shifted. There wasn't the usual bland Discord welcome message with balloons or some chirpy bot greeting me with rules and emojis. Instead, the first thing that appeared was a single line of text at the top of the channel list. "Welcome to Ashgrove. Do not linger." That was it. No emojis, no pinned rules, just a warning. At first, I thought it was some elaborate roleplay gimmick, a horror-themed server trying too hard to be edgy. But the longer I stared at the channel list, the more uneasy I felt. Most servers have a handful of public channels, maybe a few voice chats. Ashgrove was sprawling, dozens upon dozens of channels, some with names in English, others in scrambled letters, numbers, and symbols that made no sense. The deeper I scrolled, the stranger they became. Words like the orchard, veins, witnessing, and then lines that looked like corrupted code. 01001101 feed? And I clicked the first channel I saw that wasn't locked. The messages were already rolling fast, like a stream I had just dropped into mid-sentence. People talking, or at least I think they were people. Some spoke in riddles, others in sentences that looked like inside jokes I couldn't possibly understand. There were long strings of numbers, references to times and dates, even GPS coordinates. A few messages were just images, grainy photos of street corners, blurry figures half hidden in shadows, random houses at night. I tried typing a simple, "Hey," no one responded. The chat didn't even acknowledge me. I might as well have been invisible. Then a notification pinged, a DM. It was from a user with a name I couldn't pronounce. Strange symbols like a glitched keyboard had spat them out. The message just said, "You shouldn't be here." I laughed nervously, telling myself it was all part of the act. But the timing, it was too precise. I'd barely joined, barely said a word, and someone had already reached out. I typed back, "Chill, dude, just checking things out." Their reply came instantly. "You were invited. That means you've already agreed." I stared at it for a while, trying to figure out if Dylan had set me up, if this was some elaborate prank. I almost closed the app, but curiosity is a stubborn thing. Instead, I clicked through more channels. The deeper I went, the worse it got. There were channels filled with strange audio clips. Low, distorted humming, whispers that didn't sound like any language I knew. Others had endless chains of usernames posting the same sentence over and over, like some mass chant. The roots are deep. The roots are deep. The roots are deep. At one point, I stumbled into a channel that was nothing but live links. Streams. Most were dead, showing static or black screens. But one of them flickered to life. Camera feed. It showed a dimly lit basement with a single chair in the middle. Nothing happened for a few seconds. Then someone walked into frame, hooded, faceless, and they just stared at the camera, as if they knew I was watching. I slammed my laptop shut, heart hammering. For a moment, I actually considered deleting Discord entirely. But that's the thing about curiosity. It claws at you. Within 5 minutes, I was opening the app again, telling myself I was being ridiculous. When I rejoined, something new caught my eye. At the very bottom of the channel list, there was one locked section marked with a symbol I didn't recognize. Unlike the others, this one pulsed faintly, like it was waiting. I hovered over it, but a notification popped up. Insufficient permissions. That should have been the end of it. But the thing about locked doors is that they make you want to see what's behind them. I couldn't stop staring. And that's when the same user DM'd me again. Do you want to see what's really inside? I should have said no. I should have blocked them, left the server, never looked back. But my fingers moved on their own. Yes. The moment I typed that single word, yes, the server changed. First, nothing obvious happened. I sat there staring at the same pulsing locked channel, half expecting it to suddenly spring open with a fanfare of creepy GIFs and sound effects. But Ashgrove didn't work like that. It was quieter, slower, more deliberate, like it wanted to make sure you understood what you'd just done. A new channel appeared in the list, tucked between two streams of gibberish symbols. Its name was simple, The Gate. I clicked. Inside, the messages weren't fast and chaotic like the other channels. This one moved slowly, carefully. Every line was deliberate, as though the people there weighed their words before posting. And unlike the others, this wasn't nonsense or cryptic jokes. These were instructions. The first pinned message was from the same user who had been DMing me. It read, "To see further, you must give something first." Beneath it, dozens of replies from other users detailing what they had done to gain access. Some wrote about sharing secrets they had never told anyone. Others posted screenshots of personal files, old photos, diary entries, even medical records. One person claimed they had mailed a lock of their hair to an address the server provided. I thought it was all roleplay, morbid internet theater designed to freak people out. But the longer I read, the more I realized these people weren't joking. The way they described their offerings was too raw, too personal. Then the bot pinged me. "Your turn." My stomach nodded. I wanted to laugh it off, say no, leave the server. But that same itch of curiosity was burning in my chest. What if I just gave them something small? A secret no one cared about? That wouldn't hurt, right? I typed a confession I'd never said out loud before. Nothing life-shattering, just a private shame I figured would satisfy whatever weird ritual this was. Then I hit enter. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then my screen flickered, and the gate unlocked the next channel. This one wasn't text. It was video. A file autoplayed the second I opened it. I'll never forget what I saw. A shaky camera feed, handheld, showing a room that looked like a teenager's bedroom. Posters on the walls, cluttered desk, clothes on the floor. The camera panned slowly until it stopped on the bed. Someone was lying there, asleep. The camera zoomed closer, closer, until the person's face filled the frame. They never woke up. The video ended. I sat frozen, a cold sweat trickling down my neck. I told myself it had to be staged. Just some creepy short film, some stunt to freak out new members. But something about the details, the subtle rise and fall of the person's breathing, the way the sheets crumpled beneath them, it felt too real. I typed in the chat, "What the hell is this?" A reply came almost instantly. Proof. I didn't know what they meant by that, and I didn't want to, but my friend Dylan did. When I told him what I'd seen, he just laughed nervously and said, "Yeah, man, I told you it was different." I pressed him for details, but he dodged every question. He kept saying it was just an ARG, an elaborate horror project designed to scare people. "They're not actually watching you," he insisted. "It's just smoke and mirrors." But if that was true, why did another DM arrive the second I ended the call with him? This time, it wasn't from my original contact. It was from a new user. The message was short. "Check your window." I froze. My room was dark, lit only by my monitor. I turned slowly, every nerve screaming at me not to. The curtains were drawn, but I swear, I saw movement. A shadow against the fabric. I spun back to my screen, hands shaking. Another message had appeared. "Wave." I couldn't, but my hand twitched like it wanted to, like I wasn't entirely in control anymore. I slammed the laptop shut. For the rest of the night, I sat in the dark, listening for sounds outside my window. When I finally opened Discord again the next morning, everything looked normal. The server was still there. The channels were still locked, still waiting. And at the very bottom of the list, beneath the gate, a new channel had appeared. Its name was one word: Closer. The first time I realized Ashgrove wasn't just an online game was the day the package showed up at my door. There was no knock, no delivery truck, nothing. I just opened my front door to grab some air and saw it sitting there on the mat. A plain cardboard box, no labels, no tape, not even my name on it. Small enough to hold in one hand. Inside was a single item, a Polaroid photo. At first, I couldn't even process what I was looking at. The picture showed my desk, my exact desk. Same coffee mug with the chipped rim, same pile of unopened mail shoved to the corner. And in the reflection of my darkened monitor screen, I could see the back of my own head. I dropped it instantly. My heart hammered so hard I thought I was going to pass out. I scrambled to check every window, every lock, every inch of my apartment, but nothing looked out of place. No broken glass, no signs of a break-in. And then my phone buzzed. The notification sound made me jump. Discord. Except I'd uninstalled it the night before. I swear I had. But there it was, back on my home screen, like it had never left. When I opened it, Ashgrove was waiting. At the top of the chat, in bold red letters, was a single line. "Nice picture." That was when I stopped laughing. Up until then, I'd convinced myself it was an elaborate ARG, a horror puzzle that just felt too real. But there's a difference between watching a creepy video online and finding evidence that someone has been inside your home without you knowing. I didn't respond. Couldn't. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, trembling. And then, just to make things worse, another line appeared in the chat. "Look behind you." Every hair on my body stood on end. I froze, unable to breathe, listening so hard it felt like my eardrums would burst. But when I forced myself to turn, the room was empty. Just me, my desk, and the photo I dropped on the floor. I deleted the app again, wiped it, even did a factory reset. For about an hour, I let myself believe that was it, that I'd cut the cord. But then the notifications started coming back. Not on my phone this time. On my laptop, my TV, even my smart speaker. They all lit up with the same ping. The same Ashgrove messages. I turned everything off. Pulled the plugs from the wall. But the messages kept arriving anyway. As if the sound wasn't coming from the devices, but from somewhere deeper. Somewhere I couldn't escape. That night, when I finally managed to fall asleep, I dreamed of the server. Except it didn't feel like a dream. The channels were there, the usernames were there, and they were speaking directly to me. You let us in. You agreed. We are closer now. I woke up drenched in sweat, the words echoing in my skull. The following day, Dylan messaged me again. He asked if I was still playing around with Ashgrove. He called it playing like it was a harmless game. I wanted to scream at him, to tell him it wasn't a joke, that it had gone too far. But something stopped me. Instead, I typed, "Do they ever show up in real life?" He didn't answer for a long time. When his reply finally came, it was just one sentence. "Don't ask questions you don't want answered." I almost threw my phone across the room. But then another DM came through, not from Dylan. "We like when you're afraid." I didn't know what to do anymore. I started covering the cameras on my laptop and phone with tape. I unplugged everything that had a microphone. But no matter what I did, the server found new ways in. Messages would appear in Notepad when I hadn't opened it. Pop up in my browser when I wasn't even connected to the internet. And worst of all, they started mentioning things I hadn't told anyone. Exact details of what I ate for dinner, the music I listened to while I worked, even the times I left my apartment. One night, as I was locking my door, a new message appeared. "Be careful crossing the street." I froze, staring at my phone. Seconds later, a car screamed past, so close I could feel the air whip against me. If I'd taken one more step forward, I wouldn't be here to tell you this. That's when I knew it wasn't just paranoia. Ashgrove wasn't some clever game or a cult or an ARG. It was watching me, and it wasn't going to stop. Sleep became impossible after that. Even when my body gave out and I collapsed into bed, my dreams weren't mine anymore. Every night, I'd find myself back in Ashgrove, wandering its endless corridors of channels, staring at usernames that seemed to lean closer with every line they typed. Sometimes I'd wake up to find messages already waiting for me, echoing the things I had just dreamed. That was when I knew I couldn't handle it alone. I tried telling Dylan again. This time, I didn't bother hiding my panic. I told him about the package, about the Polaroid, about the car that almost hit me. I expected him to laugh it off, to tell me I was being paranoid. Instead, he went quiet. "Don't talk about it here," he finally muttered. His voice was shaky. "Not on Discord. Not on the phone. They're listening." That silence said more than his words ever could. Dylan knew. He had always known. After that, I stopped leaving my apartment. Every sound outside became a threat. Every shadow stretched too long, lingered too close. I kept the curtains closed, the locks double-checked, the lights on through the night. It didn't matter. The server followed me anyway. I tried to leave Ashgrove, deleted my account, wiped my devices, even bought a new phone. Within hours, the server was back. Invites popping up in my email, my texts, even on old accounts I hadn't used in years. One night, I thought I'd finally beaten it. I'd powered everything off, disconnected the router, sat in the dark with nothing but silence around me. For the first time in weeks, I felt a sliver of peace. Then my screen lit up. I hadn't touched my laptop, hadn't even turned it on. But there it was, glowing faintly, the Ashgrove logo flickering against the black screen like a heartbeat. and then a message appeared. The final straw was the voice call. I didn't answer it. God knows I didn't. But the sound still filled my apartment. A distorted chorus, dozens of voices layered over each other, whispering my name again and again until it didn't sound like my name anymore. And then, through the static, a single voice cut clear. Come to the final channel. I knew what they meant. That locked section at the bottom of the server, the one that pulsed faintly whenever I hovered over it. The one that seemed to breathe. My laptop screen flickered to life, showing the symbol again. This time, the lock was gone. For a long time, I just sat there, staring, every muscle in my body screaming not to click. But fear has a way of twisting into inevitability. If I didn't look, they'd keep coming. If I did look, maybe it would end. I don't remember moving my hand. I don't remember pressing the trackpad. But the next thing I knew, the channel was open. What I saw in there, I can't describe it. Not fully. There were images, yes, but they weren't like anything human eyes were meant to process. Shapes folding in on themselves. Faces that didn't belong to people. Places that looked like they had been carved out of nightmares. And threaded through all of it, messages written in languages I didn't recognize, yet somehow understood. I could feel my mind unraveling as I scrolled. My thoughts weren't mine anymore, they belonged to Ashgrove. And then the final message appeared, bold and sharp across the screen. We're already here. That was when I heard it. The footsteps outside my door. Not the distant pacing from before. This time they were right outside. Slow, deliberate, each one pressing down like a countdown. I don't know how long I sat there, paralyzed, listening. I don't know how I'm even alive to be telling you this. All I know is that when the footsteps stopped, I made the mistake of looking out the peephole. And someone was waiting. I don't even know how I made it to that night. Every nerve in my body screamed at me to hide, to run, to disappear. But somewhere deep down, a part of me knew it was too late. Ashgrove wasn't just a server anymore, it was a force. It had seeped into my life, my apartment, my very mind. And now it wanted me to see the end. The first sound was the ping. My laptop, still open, still flickering with that sick green glow, chirped a message. Come now. I tried to ignore it. I powered everything off, unplugged cords, even threw the laptop across the room. It didn't matter. Seconds later, my phone buzzed. Notifications, messages, images, live feeds. One feed showed my apartment, my bedroom, my bed, empty. But I knew I wasn't alone. The footsteps started again. Slow, deliberate, counting down towards something I didn't want to face. I grabbed the only thing I could think of, a kitchen knife, and crept to the door, my body shaking so violently I could barely stand. I cracked the door open. The hallway was empty. Shadows stretched in unnatural angles along the walls, flickering as though the light itself was alive. Then I heard it. A whisper, a dozen whispers layered on top of each other, saying the same thing over and over. You can't escape. I stumbled backward, knife raised, but the voices didn't stop. They came from everywhere. From inside my head, from the walls, from the devices I had destroyed. From Ashgrove. I had no choice. I had to run. I threw open the door and bolted down the hallway. Every step echoed, yet no one followed. Or maybe they were already ahead of me. Couldn't tell. My apartment building felt like it had transformed. Hallways stretching farther than they should. Doors appearing where there were none. A maze designed to trap me. And then I saw the figure. At the end of the hall, shrouded in shadows, a hooded silhouette stood still, Faceless, featureless, and impossibly tall. I froze, heart hammering, and my instincts screamed to turn back, but it was too late. The figure raised its hand, and my phone vibrated violently in my pocket. I didn't check it, couldn't. I knew it would be a message from Ashgrove. Closer. The word pulsed in rhythm with my racing heart. I ran down the stairs into the street, but the shadows seemed to flow around me, thickening, twisting, guiding me, pushing me towards something I didn't want to find. And then I heard the sound. A car door slamming, footsteps beside me, but when I glanced, no one was there. Only darkness and the figure that seemed to blink into existence wherever I looked. I ducked into an alley, hoping to lose it. My phone lit up again. Live feed. This time, it wasn't of me. It was a camera floating somewhere above the city streets, focusing on the alley where I hid. I pressed my hands over my eyes, whispering prayers I hadn't spoken since I was a kid, trying to will the world back into something normal. Nothing worked, and then I felt it, a presence behind me, heavy and suffocating. I didn't turn, couldn't, but I could hear the whisper in my ear. Do you remember when you clicked the invite? You agreed. You are ours. I stumbled backward, crashing against the brick wall. The figure emerged from the shadows. Closer. Too close, faceless, but I could see my own reflection in the darkness where its eyes should have been. I don't belong here, I stammered, voice breaking. The figure tilted its head. The air around it seemed to hum, vibrating with hundreds of layered voices. You do. You always did. Panic surged, adrenaline and terror combining to make me feel alive and paralyzed at once. I ran again, this time blindly, following the flow of shadows, crashing through trash cans, dodging flickering streetlights. Every turn seemed to lead me back to the same street corner. Every shadow seemed to form into that hooded figure. My phone buzzed again. Another message. I didn't dare look. I knew what it would say. Final channel. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't want to know. But then a new screen appeared, floating in the darkness, glowing impossibly. My laptop, somehow alive despite being destroyed earlier, showing the Ashgrove logo. The final channel was open. I pressed it. The screen filled with images I couldn't comprehend. Faces that weren't human, landscapes that bent and folded into themselves, hands reaching out from static. And through all of it, messages scrolled fast, too fast for comprehension. You invited us in. We are here. We are everywhere. You are ours. I fell to my knees, couldn't scream. My voice had left me. And then, through the chaos, a single image froze the screen, me, lying in my bed. Alive, yes, but completely exposed. The angle was perfect, showing my face, my room, even the knife I had dropped. And in that moment, I realized Ashgrove wasn't just watching me. It was in me. The figure stepped closer, faceless, impossibly close. And then the whispers stopped. Silence. A single line appeared on the screen. Do you want to live? I didn't know how to answer. My mind was raw, shredded. My instincts screamed yes, yes, anything to survive. But my body refused to move. The figure reached out, hand touching my shoulder. Or maybe it didn't. Maybe it was already inside me. And then, darkness. When I woke up, I was in my apartment, alone. The devices were dead, the windows still taped. The streets outside quiet. Nothing, but the last message still lingers in my mind. I know it's not over. I know Ashgrove is still out there, waiting for the next click, the next curiosity, the next invitation. And I know, God, I know that if you find the invite, if you're tempted to look, you won't get away. I don't know how much of what I've told you is even mine anymore. My memories, my thoughts, they're fragmented like Ashgrove carved them up and stitched them back together in shapes I barely recognize. Some nights, I wake up unsure if I'm really in my apartment or somewhere else entirely. Somewhere darker, where the server whispers in every shadow and flicker of light. The oddest part is how normal the world looks. Outside, the streets hum with life. Cars drive past. People walk dogs. The mail arrives. But I know the truth. The ordinary is just a mask. Ashgrove is everywhere, in the spaces between signals, in the reflections you never notice, in the devices you trust. I've tried to warn people, friends, random strangers online, anyone who'll listen. But the server has ways of silencing warnings. My messages disappear, my accounts vanish, and any evidence I leave is folded into the same endless labyrinth that trapped me. Even this story, maybe it's already part of it. Maybe by reading this, you've stepped closer without knowing. I didn't know how to answer. My mind was raw, shredded. My instincts screamed yes, yes, anything to survive. But my body refused to move. The figure reached out, hand touching my shoulder. Or maybe it didn't. Maybe it was already inside me. And then, darkness. When I woke up, I was in my apartment, alone. The devices were dead, the windows still taped. The streets outside quiet. Nothing, but the last message still lingers in my mind. I know it's not over. I know Ashgrove is still out there, waiting for the next click, the next curiosity, the next invitation. And I know, God, I know that if you find the invite, if you're tempted to look, you won't get away. I don't know how much of what I've told you is even mine anymore. My memories, my thoughts, they're fragmented like Ashgrove carved them up and stitched them back together in shapes I barely recognize. Some nights, I wake up unsure if I'm really in my apartment or somewhere else entirely. Somewhere darker, where the server whispers in every shadow and flicker of light. The oddest part is how normal the world looks. Outside, the streets hum with life. Cars drive past. People walk dogs. The mail arrives. But I know the truth. The ordinary is just a mask. Ashgrove is everywhere, in the spaces between signals, in the reflections you never notice, in the devices you trust. I've tried to warn people, friends, random strangers online, anyone who'll listen. But the server has ways of silencing warnings. My messages disappear, my accounts vanish, and any evidence I leave is folded into the same endless labyrinth that trapped me. Even this story, maybe it's already part of it. Maybe by reading this, you've stepped closer without knowing. Some nights I catch myself staring at my phone, wondering if the ping I hear is real or just in my head. I tell myself not to click, not to respond, and yet I feel the pull. Curiosity, the same fatal curiosity that brought me here in the first place. It's stronger than fear. It's a trap dressed as intrigue, and Ashgrove knows it. I've learned the rules too late. The server doesn't forgive. It doesn't negotiate. It just waits. It waits for the next click, the next invite, the next slip of judgment. And once you've been marked, there's no going back. Every device, every connection, every reflection in a darkened screen, they can become doors. I sometimes wonder if Dylan ever really left. He was the one who sent me the invite, the one who laughed nervously when I first asked about the server. Did he survive? Or is he part of it now? Another voice echoing through the channels, feeding new victims into the same machinery? I'll never know. I try to find comfort in the mundane. Cooking, reading, listening to music. But even there, shadows linger. A misplaced shadow on the wall. The faint hum of a device I didn't turn on. A notification that flashes just long enough to vanish before I can see it. Ashgrove is patient. It doesn't rush. It just waits, knowing that sooner or later you'll slip. And now, as I speak to you, I feel it watching. Watching not just me, but you too. If you've made it this far, you've already seen the invitation. Maybe it's just words on a screen, harmless curiosity. Or maybe you're already inside. I don't know if I'll ever find peace. I don't know if I'll ever truly escape. And I can't promise that telling you will protect you either. But I can leave you with this. If you see a server called Ashgrove, if an invite pops up in your inbox, if curiosity whispers in your ear, turn away, run, delete it, forget it exists. Because once you've clicked, once you've opened that door, you're not alone anymore. And sometimes, just sometimes, the next click is all it takes to let them in.